through the lab test, the doc file I posted in the classroom? Anybody went through the lab test file?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Did you understand what your task is?
Yes, sir. To make an own version of lexical analyzer.
Yeah, that was task one. But this is your lab two. This time you're going to have to find your own version to make regular expressions. Okay, I'll quickly share my screen. All right, can everybody see my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right, so this is your lab test. If you read through it, it's plain and simple. It says that we're going to have to make a regular expression of our own. I'm already expecting you guys know what regular expressions mean. All right, in short, if you look at the input output, there will be inputs, two kinds of inputs, email and websites. So you're going to have to figure out if this is a valid email and if the outputs are valid emails or a valid website. There's also a table given. For example, an email cannot start with digits, right? So this is an invalid email. Now, these tasks are very simple to do if you use built-in regular expression methods, but we're not going to make it that easy for you. We want you to use plain Java and not use any regular expression libraries or built-in methods. So in short, the task is you will be given the first line of input is how many inputs you are going to give, and then after that you're going to type in random emails and websites, and your code should be able to tell you if which one's the website and which one's the email while giving the line number. So this is line 1, this is line 2. So email 1 means the first input was an email. Web 2 means the second input was a website. But in case there are invalid emails or invalid websites, your code should be able to figure that out as well. Is the idea clear? What we are trying to achieve?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it's very similar to, it's a little bit similar to the one we've already done, lexicon analyzer. In this lab, we're also going to have to find patterns. So again, I'll help you get started. Let's create a Java project. Let's CSE420 underscore lab 2. create another class called regular session. So in this class, I'll have a method called void say start. All right, so I'm basically just creating an object of this class and running this method. So everything's going to happen within this method. Again, like the previous lab, let's create an input file. Call it input.txt. Okay, so what I'm going to do is mostly show you a few tricks how you can figure out if it's a valid email. I want you to do the website part by yourself. Let's say I'm going to give two inputs, and I'm going to choose these two. So abc@gmail.com and 123abc@gmail.com. The first one should say email one like this, but the second one should say invalid two because the second one is an invalid email. Emails cannot start with digits. It has to start with a character. So abc@gmail.com on page 3, abc@gmail.com. So the first thing I want to do is put it in a try catch, just in case it gets some kind of an error. Now I'm going to need a file. And I'm going to need a scanner. Feel free to interrupt me if you're not understanding anything. So far, what I've basically done is just create an input file and create an object of this class and call the start method. Within the start method, I'll be doing everything. So if I have a file, I need to scan that file. So I need a scanner. To get the file. Okay, since I have a scanner, I should probably close it at one point. If someone's microphone is on. All right. So what is my first input? Is the how many inputs I'm going to take, right? So it's going to be a digit. So let's put it in an int variable. Let's say input size. Dot next int. And I'm going to need a loop. So it takes that many inputs, right? Is anybody lost or not understanding what I'm doing? Again, feel free to interrupt if you are having trouble understanding. Let's start with one.
স্যার ইনপুট সাইজ নামে একটা ভ্যারিয়েবল নিলেন কেন আসলে?
Because the input format says that the first input should be how many inputs I want to take. So
মানে
if I
মানে
get,
ইন্টিজার টাইপ আর কি স্যার?
yeah.
মানে ওকে।
If I press 3 here, I should take 3 emails, another email.
আচ্ছা
Okay? So if I is less than input size and I plus, this is how long my loop should last. And to read the emails, I have to use the scanner again. Let's use the current line again. It's a variable name. You can pick anything you want. Scanner.next. Just to check if we're reading the inputs correctly. For now, let's just print it out. All right. So far, all my code does is it checks how many inputs and it runs a loop that many times, and it's going to print out all the emails. At least that's what it's supposed to do. Let's find out if it does. It says it only read one email. Oh, my bad. Should be less or equal. Since I started with 1, it should be less or equal. Alright, so yeah, I got all the emails. Now we can move on. Okay, so the first question is, how can we differentiate between an email address and a website?
স্যার শুরু
www.
www থাকবে স্যার ওয়েব অ্যাড্রেসে।
Yeah,
আর ইমেল অ্যাড্রেসে সাধারণত @ থাকে স্যার, যেটা ওয়েব অ্যাড্রেসে কখনোই
Yeah.
থাকে না। সো উই ক্যান
Yeah.
ডিফারেন্সিয়েট বিটুইন দিস টু ক্রাইটেরিয়াস।
yeah, that's very good.
কিন্তু স্যার কোডে কি করে করবো এটা জানি না।
Alright, I'll help you out, don't worry. So after reading the first line, we can check if the current line contains any special characters. Like an email must contain an @ symbol. A website can never have an @ symbol. Right, so this is a very important and very differentiating factor between them. So if this contains anything like @ symbol, we can try to verify if it's, we can assume that it's some kind of an email. So the next step would be to verify if that email is valid or invalid. So let's create another method. Like void check valid email, and it's going to take a string, and let's call it email string. So here I should call if this is current line. So in this particular portion, what I'm doing is I'm checking if this this line variable string contains the character @. So if @ is present within that string, I should check if it's a valid email. I'm going to use this method to verify if it's a valid email or invalid email. If I look at the structure again, what I have to do, if it's a valid email, I need to just type in email, comma, the line number. Okay. A better approach here would be, instead of writing void, you can return a string. And let's call this result. We call it email. Return. So this way, if it's a valid email, it should return the string email. I haven't written the conditions yet to check the valid email, but what I'm thinking of is, instead of making it return void, we can utilize this return type. Since we're trying to follow this format, if it's a valid email, I should be writing email, comma, the line number. Now we can find the line number using the I variable here, since it's running in a loop. So I figured if I return this string, I can probably utilize I and uh, type out the correct format. So if I put system.out.println here, and if it is a valid email, it should return email plus, I have to add a comma, and then I can add the line number.
I.
Yeah.
স্যার একটা প্রশ্ন ছিল, সেটা হচ্ছে যে আমরা যে এখানে যে আপনি যে একবারেই করছে, এটাকে আমরা ভেঙে করতে পারি না, মানে একটা লাইন নিয়ে কি?
How do you want to divide it?
স্যার আমি করতে চাচ্ছিলাম যে প্রথমে হচ্ছে আমরা তো স্যার ওই যে কি জানি বলে একবারে ইমেল কারেন্ট লাইনে চলে যাচ্ছি ডাইরেক্ট, যদি দেখি যে অ্যাড্রেস থাকে তখন আমরা চেক ভ্যালিড ইমেলে আমরা মেথডে চলে যাচ্ছি, তো রিটার্ন করছি ইমেল। আর লাইন নাম্বার যেটা সেটার জন্য আমরা না হয় পরে স্যার আবার মানে ইয়া করবো না, মানে ওই কি বলবো ওটার নিচে লিখে দিব যে সিস্টেম ডট আউট ডট প্রিন্টলাইন করে আই দিয়ে দিলাম আর কি, কারণ অনেক হিজিবিজি মনে হচ্ছে তো এর জন্য স্যার।
Oh, yeah, sure. You can do it any way you want. I thought this would be a better way to utilize this method. But
মানে
you
একবার
can, yeah, you can keep it as void. You can print it within this method. It's up to you.
ওকে স্যার।
Then you can also pass the I variable within this method after email string, if that makes you feel better.
ওকে স্যার।
Whatever suits you. It's completely fine. As long as you give the correct output.
ওকে স্যার।
Okay, so if we look at the emails again, to make it a valid email, we must make sure it does not start with any kind of digits. So how can we ensure that? We have to figure out how we can validate that.
স্যার প্রত্যেকটা স্ক্রিনটাকে আমরা ইয়া করি, মানে স্ক্যান করে করে দেখি যে এটা কি আসলে ইয়া আছে কিনা, মানে ফর এক্সাম্পল প্রথম দুইটা বা তিনটা স্যার আমরা ইয়ে করতে পারি, যে চেক করতে পারি যে নাম্বার দিয়ে শুরু হচ্ছে কিনা। যদি নাম্বার দিয়ে সরি প্রথম স্লটটা আর কি, মানে কোনটা স্ট্রিং এর প্রথম স্লটে যদি দেখি যে নাম্বার আছে
Exactly.
তাহলে বলবো যে এটা ইনভ্যালিড। আর যদি একেবারে প্রথম স্লটে যদি নাম্বার না থাকে তাহলে আমরা বলতে পারি না, এটা হচ্ছে একটা ভ্যালিড।
Yeah. So even this is a valid email. Numbers can still occur within the string, but it cannot start with the string.
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
That's the key point. So we just have to basically take the string and check the first value, if it's a digit or not.
ইয়েস স্যার।
That was my question. How do you do that?
Oh,
Sir,
sorry.
starts with the method use করব।
Okay. Yeah, there's a built-in method. We can put it in an if statement, right?
Yes,
That
sir.
should give you starts with. It says it's going to give you a boolean.
আমরা
If
ভুলে যাচ্ছি স্যার, যে যদি সত্য
Yeah,
হয় তাহলে, যদি ট্রু হয় তাহলে আমরা বলবো যে
exactly, of course. So that's why I'm putting it in a if statement.
হুম
Now here's the problem. It's saying that it can match a prefix. That means you can put strings, but then how can you ensure that it's a character and not a digit? Do you want to write all the digits here, the comma, or if you say 0?
স্যার ফার্স্টে স্প্লিট করে নেই অ্যাট দ্য রেটের আগে স্প্লিট করে নেই।
What would that do?
একটা রেড স্প্লিট করে কি লাভ হচ্ছে স্যার, আসলে আমি এটা বুঝলাম না।
স্যার স্প্লিট করে স্প্লিটের ফার্স্টের যে পার্ট থাকবে স্যার ওই পার্টের সাথে আমরা এখানে ইয়া করে দিব, অ্যাড করে দিব, তাহলে প্রিফিক্সের সাথে আমার এটা ইয়া করে দেখবে, কম্পেয়ার করে দেখবে।
But that's the problem. You don't know which digit it can be. It can start with a 1, it can start with a 9, it can start with anything. How can you define the prefix? Do you want to write 10 if statements if it starts with a 0 or if it starts with the
স্যার
1, if
এটা
it's
একটা লুপের মধ্যেও রাখা যায়, 0 থেকে শুরু হয়ে 9 পর্যন্ত চলবে, যেটা হচ্ছে একবার একবার করে চেক করবে। এটা এফিশিয়েন্ট কিনা যায় না, বাট এইভাবে কাজ করতে পারে।
yeah, that's one way to do it, but yeah, it's not very efficient. There's actually a much easier way to do it. In a string, you can separate the first character, and what that will do is there's a built-in method for character class called isDigit. So what the isDigit method does is it takes a character and returns true or false if the character itself is a digit or not.
Okay.
So now we have to input a character here, but our email is a string.
Yes, sir.
We don't have to input the entire string because we only need the first character,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
So how can we get the first character? There's a built-in method for a string as well, char@. What char@ does is it takes an index and returns a character based on the index. Yeah, so the first, if I'm trying to return the first character, what should be the index of the first character?
0.
Yes. Everything starts with a 0.
Starts with 0, sir.
So that's pretty much it. You're done. Is there anyone who failed to understand this, or you want me to repeat this process?
Sir, isDigit কাজটা আবার একটু বললে ভালো হয়।
isDigit.
জি স্যার।
Okay, so it takes any character and returns true or false if it's a digit. For example, if this will return true,
জি স্যার।
this will return false,
False, sir.
this will return true, this will also return true. Any kind of digit as a character, if you put it within the parameters of this method, it will return true.
Okay, sir.
And within this portion, what I'm doing is I'm taking the email string and separating the first character.
Okay, sir.
Which can be this one or this one.
Okay.
Whatever the email is.
Okay.
So if you look at my method structure, I'm defining a result as email. So if the first character is not, I mean, if it is a digit, then my result should be invalid. Does that make sense?
So result তো valid দেখার কথা।
If it's a digit, it should be invalid.
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
The first,
sorry.
yeah, the first character, if it's
হ্যাঁ তাহলে স্যার ঠিক আছে স্যার।
invalid.
হবে।
Yeah. So, and if it's not going to enter this if, and it is going to remain email. So it's going to return email, and it should print email. Let's first test it out if it's working. So you see the first one says it's a valid email, and the second one says it's an invalid email. Everyone clear about this so far?
Yes, sir.
Now, things can get a bit more complicated. Let's say I am going to remove this portion. Is this a valid email? abc@just gmail.
No, sir.
But my current will still say it's a valid email because it starts with a character. That's all I'm checking for now. So I have to put in more conditions. For this particular condition, how can I make sure that we have to make sure at least a .com at the end, right?
জি স্যার, আমাদের লাস্টে চেক করতে হবে যে .com আছে কিনা, মানে কম আছে কিনা।
So any idea how we can do that?
নিশ্চয়ই কোনো মেথড আছে স্যার, যে
মেথড আছে না স্যার?
স্যার ends with মেথড আছে মনে হয় একটা।
Exactly. This time we can use something like ends
with.
Because we're absolutely sure that, at least we're assuming that it should end with .com. This time I'm not trying to check any digits or anything, so We don't need,
জাস্ট স্ট্রিট
yeah,
আমরা ঠিক আছে কিনা স্যার আর কি
yeah, exactly. So if it does not end with .com, I should give it invalid.
ইনভ্যালিড হ্যাঁ স্যার
That's what I'm putting a not in front of it.
নট ওকে নট
This time, if I run it, it's going to give me two
এখন
invalid.
ইনভ্যালিড দেখাবে স্যার
Yeah, this is
যেহেতু
correct.
আপনি .com-টা বাদ দিয়ে দিয়েছেন আর কি
Now put back in, give me a validity. Yeah. Okay, now let's if there are two other symbols. Is this a valid email? This is not a valid email. There can be special characters. There can be two multiple @symbols. But my current code will actually say that it's a valid email.
হ্যাঁ স্যার
So how can we solve this?
চেক করতে হবে যে শুধু একটাই আছে আর কি একটা কাউন্টার বা সামথিং রাখতে পারি আমরা যে যদি ইফ যদি জাস্ট একটাই থাকে তাহলে ঠিক আছে ফাইন আর যদি মাল্টিপল থাকে তাহলে বলতে হবে যে না এই ইমেলটা ভ্যালিড না আর কি
Okay, someone said something about splitting it. I'll follow that approach. Let's say string email array. Oh, sorry, I should put an array symbol here. So what I'm thinking of is if I split this email string based on the @symbol and make sure there are two portions. What this will return is as soon as it gets an @symbol, it will split the string into two portions. Those, for example, this is the first. Sorry. So this is the first symbol. As soon as it gets this symbol, it's going to split it. This will be the first portion, and this will be the second portion. Then all I have to do is check if the second portion contains any symbols.
হ্যাঁ স্যার
Does that make sense?
হ্যাঁ স্যার
So even if there's an symbol here, what it's going to do is it's going to split it from here. First part is going to contain ABC, and the second is going to contain this line. So I don't have to check the first portion because as soon as I get an symbol, it's going to split, and I can ensure that the symbol won't be within the first portion. If there are multiple symbols, it's going to exist in the second portion of my splitted email string.
জি স্যার
That's why I'm defining it as 2, making sure that the length is 2, and I have two portions. Then I can simply run another if saying that email array second portion, which is 1, the first portion would be 0,
জিরো
contains any kind of symbol.
যদি করে তাহলে স্যার ইনভ্যালিড আর কি সেম জিনিস আসলে ইনভ্যালিড
This is invalid. Okay, so then the second portion is completely back with valid enough. So far, any questions? How we can valid an email?
না স্যার
স্যার @এর পরে আমাদের অন্য কোনো স্পেশাল ক্যারেক্টার আছে কিনা সেটা চেক করা লাগবে না?
Yeah.
আরো কন্ডিশনস আরে
Of course. And to be a little more honest, you can make this even much more complex because if you think about your email, like what is it, abc@e.brac.
What is it?
Right, so it's not guaranteed that every email would end with a .com.
will end with a .com.
So things can get much more complicated. But for simplicity, you can assume the thing it can end with a .com. If someone does come up with a solution for formats like these as well, and if I'm impressed with their code, I might even give them 1 or 2 bonus marks. But for most of you, if you can assume that it will end with a .com. But you also have to figure out if there are other invalid characters within them. I'm not going to help you with that one. But I've shown you how you can find different patterns and how you can validate some portion of the email. And now, what about web? Let's say you can assume that it starts with the www and ends with a .com, right? But also within a website, you can't have symbols like these or special symbols like these, right? So if you can figure out a way to make sure the email contains special symbols like these, it should, you can use the same method for ensuring the website doesn't contain special characters within the 2 dots. First, you have to ensure that it starts with a www and ends with a .com, and you can split it into multiple portions, and make sure this particular string does not contain any special characters. So I want you to do that part, to figure out if any string contains any kind of special characters or not. So did we get an idea how we can solve this lab?
Sir, the web address will not contain special characters, or it will contain special characters?
It won't contain special characters. Have you ever seen a website like this?
No, sir.
Yeah, so the
Very
domain name can never contain any kind of special characters. You can see maybe like /ID equals something like this, but we're trying to figure out the website domain name, and the domain name can never contain special characters. Yes.
ডোমেইন টাইপ তো অনেক রকম হতে পারে, .com রয়েছে, .org রয়েছে, .bd
Yeah,
রয়েছে।
exactly. So it's the same problem with emails, but for simplicity, you can assume that it ends with the .com. If you can solve it for all kinds of websites, I'll be pretty impressed. I might even give you bonus marks, like I said. But for simplicity, if you do assume that it will end with the .com, then that's still fine.
স্যার আগে সিম্পলিসিটিটা স্যার আগে পারি, তারপর না স্যার অ্যাডভান্সটা ভাবা যাবে।
Yeah, exactly. So first try to solve it for .com. Then if you still have time, you can try to solve it for something a bit more complex. All right, so can we do it? You guys have a lot of time since we're not having deadlines for any labs. So, and our next lab is going to be 2 weeks later. So give it some time, Google some things, try your best. Try to go as far as you can. That's how problem solving works. You have to try your best. You have to figure out patterns and come up with your own solutions. All right, so any questions from what I've shown you so far, or if you're confused about certain things in the lab, you don't know how to do it. Any questions? I think I'll stop presenting. So were you guys able to finish the first lab?
Not yet, sir.
The
Needed
meet was going on.
Oh yeah.
So it was going on, সবাই তো ব্যস্ত ছিল একটু।
Yeah.
এই media, so
All right, that's fine since we're not having deadlines. But since you have 2 labs pending right now, I would just suggest to give some time for 420 labs.
Sir, can I get my codes checked if I face any problem?
Sorry, I couldn't get that.
Can I get my codes checked before submitting if I get stuck anywhere?
Sure, you can email me.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. So, any other questions, or I think I'll end it here.
স্যার কোনো প্রশ্ন নেই।
All right. Shobik, you want to say something?
স্যার রেকর্ডিং তো থাকবে তাই না?
Yeah, of course. I'm recording the whole thing. I'll be giving it to you in your classroom.
ওকে স্যার, থ্যাংক ইউ।
All right, Shobik, you have anything to add? Anything I missed?
Just one more thing, as one of you asked about showing your code before submitting, you guys can email us anytime or you can post a comment on the Google Classroom. So we are going to be available there. So আপনাদের যদি কোনো প্রবলেম হয় lab 1 lab 2 সলভ করতে জাস্ট আমাদেরকে ইমেল করলেই হবে, উইল ট্রাই টু গেট ব্যাক টু ইউ অ্যাজ সুন অ্যাজ পসিবল, ঠিক আছে? আর যেহেতু স্যার বলেছি, আমি আরেকবার জাস্ট রিপিট করছি, মিড উইক ছিল দেখে কিন্তু আপনাদের হয়তো অনেকে এখনো 2টা সাবমিট করেন নাই, বাট সিন্স ইউ নো আমাদের সেমেস্টার কিন্তু পরে শুরু হয়েছে, সো ইউ আর নট গাইস গোনা গেট মাচ টাইমের পরে, সো বেটার গেট স্টার্টেড উইথ দি ল্যাবস। যত তাড়াতাড়ি শুরু করবেন ইউ গাইস ক্যান গেট ফিডব্যাক ফ্রম আস। সো জাস্ট এটা একটু মাথায় রেখে রেগুলারলি এইগুলোতে একটু এঙ্গেজ করা ট্রাই করেন, ঠিক আছে?
স্যার আমাদের কি সবগুলো ল্যাব লাস্টে মার্চ করে দিলে বেটার হয় নাকি ডেইলি আপডেট করলে বেটার হয়, মানে উইকলি বেসিসে আপডেট করলে বেটার হয়?
It's best if you complete weekly weekly labs by yourselves and keep the codes to yourself, because I'm not giving you any submission forms just yet. What I'm going to do is at the end of the semester, I'm going to give you a submission form, and I want you to submit all your labs. Zip them together and just submit it once. It'll be easier for us to check that way. So I hope everyone's aware of this.
আচ্ছা স্যার।
All right. Any other questions? Okay, I think we'll end it here then. Thank you guys for coming, and try your best to do the labs as soon as you can. Try not to delay. So yeah, stay safe and have a nice day.